Live from CNN Centre, you're at the International Desk.
We begin in Turkey, where police have arrested nearly 24 people, including journalists and filmmakers, in raids that some call a politically motivated crackdown. Demonstrators showed up at one location in response to a warning on Twitter. Media reports say the suspects are being accused of forming, leading and being members of an armed terrorist organisation. Many of them are associated with a rival of the Turkish president. Let's get more now from journalist Andrew Finkel live in Istanbul in Turkey. Andrew, these journalists are accused of forming an illegal organisation trying to seize control of the state. What had they been publishing and how were they arrested?
Well, they were arrested in a very dramatic way this morning. The police arrived at the newspaper, Zaman newspaper. It's possibly the largest circulating newspaper in the country. The journalists were prepared for this. There were demonstrators in front of the building. There have been tweets, leaks from the government announcing that these arrests were imminent. There was a huge demonstration as the police tried to enter the building. They got cold feet, they went away, then they came back again in the afternoon, at which point the editor-in-chief of the newspaper gave himself up voluntarily. Now, this is a newspaper which had supported the government until about 12 months, 2 years ago, but it changed its tone dramatically, and it's associated with this movement, this religious movement called the Gulen movement, which the government sees as having been behind some police investigations 1 year ago in which senior figures of the government were detained for corruption charges. Now, those people have all been let off, but the government, I guess, is signaling in a none too subtle way that it now has the upper hand, and it has moved against this newspaper, which in the interim has become one of the strongest critics of the government of Tayyip Erdogan, Lynda.
And Andrew, what can you tell us about this cleric who is the rival of the president? They used to be close allies, didn't they?
Well, they were close allies. I mean, in many ways, rivals is a sort of odd word because this is a man who actually lives in the United States. He lives in a reclusive settlement in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. But he has a great influence, and many of his followers have been active in the police, in the judiciary, and they have a strong network, not just in Turkey, but in many other countries, of schools and businesses. So they have a very valuable network to the government, and were close supporters of the government for many years. I mean, there was this notion of sort of moderate Turkish Islam, which was a very acceptable notion to the government. But at a certain point, they fell out, and they fell out badly. And the government sees them as being behind a very damaging series of corruption allegations, of leaked conversations from the police, which have incriminated the government in many different ways. So the government is basically tried to sweep up after it, and has accused this movement of doing nothing less than staging a coup, an attempt to overthrow them. So now in the government parlance, this movement, or even the word Pennsylvania itself, is synonymous with an attempt to illegally overthrow the government, Lynda. It's quite a dramatic situation.
Very dramatic, very interesting. Thank you very much, Andrew Finkel, for that update. We'll speak to you soon.